I'm Tiffany Nielsen, and joining me once again, we have the legendary Steve Brummer, partner at the IoT Group. Where are you joining from, Steve, and how are you today?
Doing great, legendary. Oh, does that mean I'm old? Is that I've been doing this for 42 years? I'm just old. That's it.
It takes
But
time to
thank you
become a
very
legend.
much. Yeah, right. Thank you for having me.
And we also have Johannes Beekman, CEO of IoT Marketing, producer and host of today's event. And Johannes, where are you joining from, and how are you doing today?
I'm joining from Austin, Texas, Tiffany, and it's hot and dry here. Uh, I think Steve is in a better place, and I'm doing great.
Thanks, Johannes. And I'm joining from Las Vegas. And so we're so glad that all of you can join us today. Please drop us a note in the chat and let us know where you're joining from, as well as your insights, questions, and any other perspectives that you want to share. And so the world around us is becoming smarter, faster, and more connected than ever before. And at the heart of this transformation is the Internet of Things, or IoT. And in this panel, we'll discuss how IoT adoption is reshaping industries, how AIoT and AI powered solutions are unlocking new possibilities, and more. And before we get started, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about your background and expertise for anyone that doesn't know you?
Well, been doing this a long time. I've been in the wireless industry since 1987. Been in IoT and machine to machine for probably 30 of those years. So have a company called BH IoT Group. We're a leading strategy advisory firm. We help companies try and figure out what the commercialization strategy needs to be to bring products and services to market around the United States and around the world. Uh, Involved in a couple of different ventures and companies. One of them is Mission Critical IoT, which is a leading onshore IoT strategy and tech support customer experience company. So we're onshore with 25 people. So that's been fun, trying to bring a new product and new company to market. And I think from an overall standpoint, a background is how do we make money in this space? It's been something that has been a little bit, secondary to coming up with new innovative products, but working with really unbelievable organizations. And just got back from Mobile World Congress last night. It was filled with great quality of people that are in the industry and have been in the industry for a long time. So I'm very bullish about the IoT space still. I still think that I know you're going to ask this question later, Tiffany, but I'm going to say it now. Today has never been a better day to be in the IoT space. It is filled with products and connectivity options and platforms and services. So I'm still extremely bullish about the IoT market.
Thank you, Steve. And you did steal my thunder on that question, but we'll get back
Sorry.
to it. It's an important one. And so, Johannes, can you also share with us a little about your background and expertise?
Sure, Tiffany. I started my career in semiconductors and initially started developing semiconductor processes. Later on, I helped launch two wafer fab startups as an engineering manager, moved into sales and marketing, started my own marketing company, and initially working with MSPs and telcos. Switched to IoT about 8 years ago, and during the COVID pandemic, we started to focus on organizing events, initially webinars, moved into summits, and now we also have our monthly newscasts.
And that newscast is Tech Scope News. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. It's monthly and you can catch it on LinkedIn or on our site or our new community, which we'll tell you about more here shortly. And so, Steve, back to this question about is it still a great time to be in IoT? Clearly, you say it is, but what's driving IoT adoption right now?
I think some of the use cases that are being developed today by many different companies is fantastic. Whether it's in a vertical or a horizontal space, the products are better and less expensive than ever before, while quality of these products are increasing every day. So whether you're looking at a router, a gateway, or some type of IoT sensor device or an edge computing box, the products and the physical hardware is becoming better and better every day with more functional capabilities. I think from a software standpoint, people are building and integrating better overall deliverable software applications to help with the use cases that are there. So there's more quality around those use cases and the software and the application layers that are being built. I know I'm not going to steal your thunder too much on the platforms, but we do have some seriously unbelievably easy to use and integrate platforms that are out there. And of course, from a connectivity standpoint, the options are all over the place, and your per gigabyte pricing has been reduced into a place where you can make money on connectivity every day if you're an integrator or an MSP. And if from a SIM standpoint, you now have the ability to look at not just a physical SIM, but the eSIM and the physical capabilities of going from the physical SIM to an eSIM world is now there. So there's so much technology change that's going on in the industry, which is again a great reason to be in the industry. But I do think that people are now looking at the data more importantly than ever before. Whether they're using AI to look at it and get the analytics out of the data that's coming out of the sensors and looking at it from a predictive maintenance standpoint or a way to increase productivity, we have never had a better time to be in the data analytics side of AI in the IoT space. And so I think those are all significant growth areas. So there's nothing short of talking about in the industry, and I do think that we're starting to see that the leaders of the industry are taking those roles on and are doing some amazing things.
Thanks, Steve. I always love to hear your perspective on what's happening. So thank you for that. And following up on that, Johannes, what are you seeing as far as AI adoption for IoT?
Well, there's a significant AI adoption in IoT, obviously, but the biggest insight is that it's happening right now, but it's not the way people think. It's not some massive replacement of existing systems. It's additive and it's edge first. So what we're seeing in the data is that control logic still leads the workload, while AI is rapidly closing the gap. And Eclipse Foundation latest IoT and Edge developer survey, control logic was the top edge workload with 40%, and AI was a close second with 37%. But it's not just AI. The plumbing matters just as much. MQTT is a leading IoT protocol among developers with 49%, with OPC, UA, and DDS providing the structured, reliable messaging that makes mixed OT-IT stacks work. And of course, there are tangible wins. There are a lot of tangible wins, and just name a few. BMW has used AI-based vision to compare component images in milliseconds for inline quality checks. This has been in production since 2018, and it continues to expand that across plants. In agriculture, we're seeing John Deere seed and spray systems use cameras and AI to target weeds and cut herbicide use. In buildings, occupancy-based control and AI-assisted HVAC deliver measurable savings. Peer-reviewed and national lab studies show typical HVAC energy reductions in the 10 to 20% range. And then we have Google's DeepMind show that you can cut data center cooling energy by up to 40% with learning-based control. Now, to scale this, companies are investing heavily in containers and orchestration. So 85% of manufacturers are already using them. Why? Because containers solve deployment consistency and security, while orchestration handles the coordination of distributed workloads and data pipelines across edge sites. So the playbook that works is simple. Pick a high-value use case, run compact models at the edge, keep humans in the loop, and log everything. Do that, and you can quickly move from experiment to production scale.
Thanks, Johannes. And Steve, when we met, I was working on a 2G module and it was like the next best thing. I was the world's smallest cellular module. But tell me, what connectivity is most common in 2025?
I still think it's 4G and anything related to LTE or CAT-M or NB-IoT. We're the show this week at Mobile World Congress we were able to meet with a lot of different connectivity companies, both MVNOs and MNOs, international players as well. And they're doing well. I mean, they're selling connectivity as options around the world. Their platforms work really well. Roaming agreements are still sometimes an issue, but primarily these players on the connectivity side are extremely competitive today. 5G international, like China, fantastic. 5G US modules are still a little high. So everybody's concerned about the BOM costs on the module and on the inside the device, and so that's still being played out in the 4G space overall. So I think that you're going to still continue to see that. You're starting to see, obviously, the Starlinks and some of the other satellite providers be extremely engulfed into the industry. Starlink is doing a great job of being able to provide those products, those gateways in remote areas and provide fantastic coverage into either a remote village or a remote site to do those things. But the traditional satellite providers are doing extremely well in the space, in the IoT space. And then you're looking at new players. You have players like EdgeBeam Wireless that are here that are now doing a protocol called ATSC 3.0, which is a downloadable off of TV broadcasting network towers, a unbelievable amount of data and video content to, say, a digital sign or firmware updates. But it's ATSC 3.0 is now being brought to the market from the 4 TV broadcasters like Scripps and Nexstar, Sinclair, and Gray through EdgeBeam. And that's a brand new IoT data technology, and I'm in the middle of that as well. And I look at things like that are coming to market that are going to make a difference in the space eventually.
Thanks, Steve. And I really think that digital signage is such a switch. Now we're not just looking at the signage; it's looking at us.
Yeah, the
Anything else you
sign.
want?
Yeah, exactly. It's got computer vision built into the sign, so it's looking at the demographics of who's looking at the sign. Even in a mall where you can now send content down based on the face that's in front of you. Say you were going in front of Sephora and you were right there, they can actually send a quick QR code download to the digital sign to be able to go into the store right next door. So it's an interesting play today. Signage, billboards on Las Vegas Boulevard can tell you how many cars have gone by. And so there's sensors now IoT sensors that are tied to the digital sign. I never thought I'd be going to the digital signage expo next week in San Diego, but that's where IoT is now going.
So if you're still not sure what IoT is, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere it is.
And so, Johannes, one change that we've seen in IoT, and as Steve alluded to, is a transition from SIM to eSIM to SoC. And since you do have an extensive semiconductor background, can you tell us more about this shift?
Sure, and thanks, Tiffany. This shift is really reshaping connectivity at a hardware level. So traditionally, IoT devices used physical SIM cards. You'd literally slot them in. That worked fine for early deployments, but it created friction. If you needed to switch carriers or deploy globally, you had major logistical headaches. You're managing inventory, physically swapping cards, dealing with different form factors. eSIM changed that game. It's embedded directly into the device, and you can provision it remotely, reprogram it over the air to switch networks without touching the hardware, which is huge for manufacturers. You can build one SKU, ship it anywhere, and activate the right carrier profile where it lands. It drastically cuts deployment time and gives you flexibility as network conditions or contracts change. Now, the next evolution is system on chip integration, or SoC. You're taking that eSIM and integrating it directly into the main processor alongside compute, memory, and other functions. Fewer discrete components means lower power draw, smaller physical footprint, better reliability, and lower cost at scale. And why does this matter? Because IoT is moving to billions of endpoints, sensors, wearables, industrial monitors. You need devices that are cheap, power efficient, and easy to manage remotely. eSIM and SoC integration solve exactly those problems. It's not just a technical upgrade, it's what makes massive scale IoT economically viable.
I kept saying that the hockey stick was coming, that there would be this giant jump in numbers, and I think we're finally getting there. So, Steve, a recent IoT analytics report suggested that IoT platforms are moving from blue ocean to red lake. Can you tell us more about the meaning behind this, and what's your take on the IoT platform market?
Well, first of all, Tiffany, the IoT analytics report is fantastic. The amount of effort they put into the data that is there and the overall history of where we have come from in the IoT platform space is right on. So they did an excellent job, and I will definitely give them kudos for that report. And if you've not seen it and read the IoT analytics report, go ahead and go look for it and find it and go look and go read it. Uh, I am in agreement with them. I'm not sure I totally agree with the numbers. I think, if you look at what the dominating platforms are today, taking on, say, 60, 70% of the market, I think that is true for the enterprise levels of companies, but I think for the SMB market, they're still looking at a small, medium sized platform provider that's in the exact space that they're looking for, meaning that they're looking for vertically integrated platforms that do what they need it to do. I knew back then, Tiffany, when we were looking at 650 platforms, that was true and crazy, and it was not sustainable. So if you look today and we say, okay, it's down to hundreds of platforms, of which a majority of them are very specifically focused, then I'm saying that that's a good thing because it's easier again to bring whatever you're selling to market. When you look at AWS and Microsoft Azure and the marketplaces that they have built, it is a very complex way of being able to find what you need and add it. So having the ability to integrate that and sell it that way is extremely important and difficult for some companies who are of not the larger size to be able to execute on it. You still need a damn platform. You can't get away with not having a platform or having some way of being able to manage your application, the data, or even including any kind of devices that are in there and looking at it from a device management standpoint. So I do believe that the time has come today that the platforms have come of age. I think that you're buying them based on consumption of data is really, really important because it's a lot easier to be able to judge to see how much data you're actually sending through the cloud or receiving through the cloud. And the bigger players that are in the industry today, you have access to them. So I think that that's a very strategically important decision that you need to make. So I thought the article was great. The report was great. I think the statistics sometimes scare me because you brought up hockey stick, and for being in the M2M business for 30 years, I've seen so many different articles and people talk about the hockey stick effect of where we are and what's going to happen. But thank God I'm old because I'm not sure how many more hockey sticks I can handle. But I think that from an overall standpoint, the world of platforms today is fantastic. It's come of age. And it's easier than ever to be able to integrate that. There were a lot of companies that were in the platform space that were not necessarily mentioned that I think should be mentioned. But you can find them out there, and if you have problems finding the right platform provider, give us a call.
Nice plug, Steve. And it was really kind of reassuring when I looked at that report, because back when I was working on that 2G module, I had to do a deep dive to figure out what platforms were out there. And I think my list was over 600. So I feel like I really captured the entire platform market back then. And I was on the phone with a lot of them. So this article really touched home. And I think IoT Analytics did a great job of really summarizing all that.
If you were to do that today, Tiffany, I can't imagine how many pickup calls you would have gotten from there, because I bet you 400 of them don't exist anymore.
Absolutely. I would agree wholeheartedly. And so, Johannes, devices are also evolving as processing moves closer to the edge. What trends are you seeing when it comes to hardware?
And that's a great question, Tiffany. So what we're seeing right now is an interesting convergence happening at the hardware level. Microcontrollers now ship with built-in AI, so vision, sound, and anomaly detection run on device and not in the cloud. That cuts latency and power and keeps data private. But beyond just raw processing power, we're also seeing sensors getting smarter too. They're not just collecting data anymore, they're doing preliminary analysis right at the sensor level. So instead of sending a fire hose of raw data, they're sending insights. The other big trend is around power efficiency, because if you want intelligence at the edge, you need devices that can run for years on the battery or even harvest their own energy. We're seeing chips that can do incredibly sophisticated processing at a fraction of the power consumption we saw just a few years ago. So coming back to Steve's statement about platforms, they've matured, but looking at what's happening on the hardware level, I think you'll see a step function in platforms in the coming years, and they'll become more powerful because the hardware is becoming more powerful. And then last but not least, in terms of hardware, there's finally, because security used to be an afterthought, now there's a real focus of security being built into the silicon itself.
Thanks, Johannes. I know it's difficult not to get in too deep to security yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there in the conversation. So hang on tight. So we've talked about connectivity, platforms, and hardware. And one thing that makes all of these offerings successful is partnerships. And so I know I'm setting you up well here, Steve, but why should businesses focus on developing strategic partnerships?
Some people are going to get sick of hearing me say the exact same thing year after year. We have an issue, but it's a great problem to have. With it, you cannot go to market and provide a customer, solve their problem, and provide that end-to-end solution like you do without having multiple vendors involved. And so those are strategic partnerships that need to happen in order for you to deliver that end-to-end solution to solve the problem of your customer. Now, you may be a large systems integrator out there, and they are still using a variety of different partners, but managing the end-to-end solution and the strategic partners that you have there totally. So you still get the various partners that are through there. If you look at distribution today, I'm giving a keynote next week at Get Wireless's annual summit event. Get Wireless, being a leading distributor of hardware products, is also doing software and connectivity. And you're seeing all the distributors and all of the large integrators being able to have to look at different partnerships in order to make that happen. So one great thing about the channel is everybody wants to make money. And so the margins and the ability for you to partner with companies that are going to figure out where the money is and how much money you can possibly make is all there today. So it's easier than ever to build upon your partnership relationships, not only with your hardware company partners, but your software and your connectivity partners. But it's so today is again part of the reason why, Tiffany, I continue to say today is a great day to be in the IoT space.
And Steve, out of curiosity, how many shows do you attend in a year? It seems like you're always.
God. You know what? It's The one great thing about this industry is that the vertical market segments have really taken on a role within the IoT space. So when you look at going to like the auto tech show, or like I'm next week, the digital signage show, utilities have a great show. Public safety, APCO is still a huge part. I'm probably doing 10 when it used to be a higher amount. Ask my partner John, but probably 10 different ones that have a really solid focus on IoT.
Still pretty good. I would have guessed it was closer to 40 or 50 by the sound
Oh,
of it.
it was in the old days when I was a lot younger and can handle that travel. But I will share with you guys and the rest of the people that are out there, BHIoT Group every year does an extensive listing of all of the trade shows over a year period of time that are related to IoT, and I'd love to share it with everybody.
All right, great. You'll have to drop us a link for that. We'd love to share
I'll
it
do
with our
that.
audience.
I will do that.
Thanks, Steve. And Johannes, over the past year, we've seen a lot of mergers and acquisitions. For instance, Vertiv acquired Wayla to strengthen its digital infrastructure capabilities, while Nordic Semiconductor acquired Memfault to offer a complete chip-to-chip solution for connected products. Given these consolidations, do you feel that smaller players in IoT still have a viable path forward, or are they increasingly at risk of being overshadowed by the industry behemoths?
Well, Tiffany, that's a great question. And I would actually argue that small players still have a very viable path, but it's different from what it was 5 years ago. So consolidation is real. And you mentioned two great examples. When you see Vertiv buying Waylay or Nordic grabbing Memfold, that's happening. What's happening is that the big companies are trying to own more of the stack to offer that end-to-end solution customers increasingly want. That vertically integrated play makes sense for them at scale. But here's where smaller players still win: specialization and speed. The IoT market isn't monolithic, it's dozens of verticals with unique requirements. A startup focused on, let's say, cold chain logistics or precision agriculture can move faster, understand the customer's pain points better, and iterate quicker than a large corporation trying to be everything for everyone. And frankly, many of these acquisitions prove that point. Nordic didn't build Mempolt internally, they bought it because a focus team created something valuable faster than they could. That's an exit, and it's a validation of the small player model. The key here is knowing your lane. If you're trying to out-platform the platforms, that's going to be tough. But if you're solving a specific gnarly problem in a niche that matters, whether it's edge analytics for manufacturing or ultra low power sensor design, there's absolutely room to grow, build value, and either scale independently or become an attractive acquisition target. So smaller players aren't at risk. They just need to be strategic about where they play.
Thanks, Johannes. That's a great lead in for my next point that I wanted to make because I recently read a piece that IoT is no longer about things and that the things themselves are no longer the most important part of IoT. Where the conversation used to be around technical challenges such as battery life, protocols, range, and antenna performance, the focus is now shifted to real business solutions. And I've been saying for a long time that tech needs to focus on what problem it's trying to solve instead of be a technology looking for a problem. But now it's becoming even more clear that the real value lies in integration and solving these business challenges, gnarly ones at that. And Steve, can you tell us more about the need for SI managed services?
As I've said numerous times, including on previous events like this, if I were to take someone's money and build an IoT company, it would be around SI and managed services. because you are physically responsible for the integration and solving the customer's problem with the products and the vendors and the partners that you believe can do that in a
For my
great
next
way.
point that I wanted to make,
And
because I
number
recently
two
read a
is
piece
building, you
that
build on
IoT
the
is no
recurring
longer about
revenue
things,
as
and the
that
things
SI of
themselves
managed
are no
services,
longer the most
meaning that
important part of
you are
IoT.
constantly
Where the
looking at the
conversation
idea
used to
of being
be
able to
around technical
sell
challenges such
support
as battery life,
services,
protocols,
integration
range, and
services,
antenna
bundling the
performance, the
connectivity
focus has now
options
shifted to real
inside
business
there, and
solutions.
being able to
And I've been
manage
saying
that
for a long
customer
time
for a
that tech needs
longer
to focus
period of
on what
time.
problem it's trying to
You know, the
solve instead of
average
be a
SI is
technology
looking
looking
at
for a
a
problem.
multiple
But now
year
it's becoming
agreement
even more
with their
clear that the
customers.
real value lies
Sometimes
in
3 to
integration
5
and
years, if
solving these
not
business
longer.
challenges.
Remember
The
in the
early
old
ones
days
at
when
that.
the batteries went from
And Steve,
a
can you
short
tell
amount
us
of
more about the
life
need for
to
SI
a
managed
10-year
services?
battery life, we said, oh, great, we can
As
build
I've
it
said
for a 10-year
numerous
period
times,
of time.
including on
Not sure
previous
that has worked
events
out,
like
but
this,
you can definitely do
if
for 3
I
to
were
5
to
years
take
with a
someone's
customer to
money
do
and
their
build
managed
an IoT
services.
company,
One
it
of the
would
reasons
be
why
around SI and
support
managed
is so
services,
important is
because
that
you are
things are
physically
breaking and
responsible
changing,
for
and
the
business
integration and solving
models
the
are
customer's
changing,
problem with the
and
products
the
and the
customer's
vendors and
problems are
partners that you
changing.
believe
And
can
so if
do
you're an
that in
SI
a great way.
services
And
agreement
number
with your
two
client,
is it's
you
building.
have the unique ability to be able to move with that change of the atmosphere around the problem that you're trying to solve, and be able to deliver that to your customer in a lot of different ways. So the managed services long term is where the money really rolls up, because these hardware products, these gateways, these routers, these sensors, they're all lasting long time. So if you can bundle your services over that lifetime duration and manage the devices and the applications and the connectivity and all the other pieces of it, then you have a great ARR business, which is where your multiples and your valuation really increase rapidly.
Thanks, Steve. And you have been saying that for quite some time. So the fact that I haven't taken you up on it and started this systems integration company, I just don't know what I'm missing out on. Yes. And with Halloween right around the corner, let's touch on some IoT horror stories. Hacked baby monitors are definitely one of my nightmares now that I'm a mom. And it's pretty scary how hacked weather emergency sirens can fake tornadoes and more. But now IoT is integrated much more deeply into our lives and our infrastructure. So, Johannes, as we look at the big picture, can you tell us what are the rising threats for AI and IoT?
Sure, Tiffany. And yes, those baby monitor hacks are seriously terrifying. And you're right. The stakes are way higher now because IoT isn't just in our homes anymore. It's running critical infrastructure. It's everywhere. It's even in the billboard that you pass on the way to your customer. So the threat landscape has evolved in three really concerning ways. First, the attack surface is exploding. We're talking billions of connected devices, many with weak or default credentials, inconsistent patching, and limited security built in from day one. The Mirage botnet back in 2016 exploited exactly this issue, compromising hundreds of thousands of IoT devices to launch massive DDoS attacks. Every sensor, every edge device is a potential entry point, and attackers notice. Second, AI is becoming the target and the weapon. Researchers have shown you can fool Tesla's autopilot by putting stickers on stop signs, and adversaries can poison training data to make factory vision systems miss defects. On the flip side, attackers are using AI themselves to automate reconnaissance, find vulnerabilities faster, and scale attacks in ways we haven't seen before. And third, and this is the nightmare scenario, we're seeing sophisticated attacks on operational technology. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack in 2021 shut down fuel supplies across the East Coast. When IoT controls critical infrastructure and AI is making real time decisions, a successful attack doesn't just crash a server, it can cause real world harm. Now, the good news, the EU AI Act, and there are more, became law in July 2024. NIST has its AI risk management framework, and companies are finally treating security as a design requirement, but we've got a lot of work to do.
Thanks, Johannes. You brought up some great points. And Steve, can you tell us about security for IoT devices and the reasons for that control?
Yeah, and Johannes is absolutely right. We have a long way to go. I've been screaming about security for years and years about the lack of security that we have with IoT devices, primarily. Examples are, a firmware change comes out from, say, Qualcomm, and that firmware is in a module. The module then was sold to distribution. The distribution company sold it to a contract manufacturer who built a box for an end user, and now that device is somewhere out in the marketplace. If the firmware is changed, how does it get to the end device? And that firmware upgrade may save them with a hack or some other IoT security scenario. Getting the firmware updates have been an issue. Looking at the vulnerabilities of those firmware modules, hardware devices that exist today is another challenge. You have companies like NetRise and Finite State that are working hard on being able to take that vulnerability information and get it out to you as a customer. There's a company like Somos ID who has now provided a registry program that allows you to be able to put your devices into their registry and be able to, and the registry on the back end looks at vulnerability data and the current state of that firmware and module and all the other modules that are inside those devices on a worldwide basis and provides you with reports and CVEs that provide you with the data and the guidance as to what you can do to correct and make your products more secure proof. Johannes brought up a great point. The things that are going on in Europe, they're again ahead of us. Some of the regulations that they're coming down with on a security basis are very, very critically important to what we are trying to do, and that is coming to the US. You may have heard about the NIST requirements around consumer products that they came out with. Well, that is going to have to be something that's mandatory to be able to handle that baby monitor and all the other consumer IoT products that are out there with a label that's approved through UL Solutions. And so there's companies that are involved in that, including Somos. So you have a lot of activity being talked about and brought to market. You still are lacking a little bit on the standards within IoT security, but it is something like Johanna said, upfront, being discussed, being baked in, being talked about. I mean, there's some crazy number right now that 75 CISOs are under some type of legal issues with devices that violated security with customers of them. And I think that that's going to increase. So your risk and liability issues are increasing every day as a CISO to be able to control the security of the devices that you're currently using, you're currently selling, or being resold in the market. So the state of IoT security is changing rapidly, all in a good way, but it's still something that has to be discussed every day.
Thank you very much, Steve. And Johannes, was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
I think Steve is hits on the point that there is a lot of work to be done. The regulation is coming along. So governance and compliance is going to be a major issue and something definitely to pay attention to.
Agreed.
Thanks,
Yep.
Johannes. And as IoT has grown, we've seen AI evolve alongside it. And some may be under the false assumption that AI is replacing IoT. But actually, AI amplifies IoT functionalities in many ways. Can you tell us about AIoT and ambient IoT as well as the push for ambient intelligence, Johannes?
Tiffany, you're absolutely right. AI is amplifying IoT. So think of IoT as the sensors and the actuators, and AI as the brain that turns data into decisions. That's what we mean by AIoT. Models trained in the cloud, then deployed close to the data. On the device itself, you handle split-second control. At the edge, you can coordinate multiple devices and add context. In the cloud, you learn, retrain, and manage everything. You can see this on factory floors today, where AI-based visual inspection runs right at the machine instead of sending data back and forth to the cloud. Edge AI is the engine driving this. Today's microcontrollers can run compact models of things like detecting anomalies in motors, thanks to specialized chips like ARM's Ethos U family, and on the higher end, modules like NVIDIA Jetson Orin handle demanding vision and robotics tasks at the edge. And services like AWS IoT Greengrass let you deploy cloud-trained models locally and update them remotely. The result? Lower latency, better resilience when connectivity drops, and stronger privacy since sensitive data stays on site. And then there's ambient IoT, which takes things even further. It embeds ultra low power sensing into everyday objects, packaging, pallets, even rooms. So the environment itself becomes readable. Wiliot's ambient IoT tags in Walmart's grocery supply chain are a great example. They track location and condition at scale, feeding AI systems that optimize logistics. The standards are evolving too, with 3GPP release 19 bringing cellular grade support for those battery free energy harvesting devices. This all leads to ambient intelligence, environments that understand context and respond automatically. And this has shifted from theory to reality, intelligent assistance woven into our surroundings. Now, what's the design challenge? Placing the right model in the right place, plan for offline operation, and protect privacy by keeping data local. Done well, AI and IoT become an intelligent fabric, what I call the IoT brain. So, in my keynote later today, I will explore how to architect this. Tiny models on microcontrollers for millisecond decisions, heavier AI at the edge for tasks like real time vision inspection, and cloud-based training tying it all together. Resilient communication, both vertical to the cloud and lateral between devices, keeps systems running even when connectivity drops, while delivering lower latency, better privacy, and real efficiency gains. The result is a collective hybrid intelligence where each device is smarter on its own and smarter together.
Thanks, Johannes. And I'm glad that you brought up the Walmart and Wiliot tags for ambient IoT because I do see that contributing to the hockey stick, Steve.
Absolutely.
Anything that you wanted to add on those topics?
No, Johannes helped me with this. There seems to be a shortage of young, educated people wanting to play in our space, and I'm hoping that AI drives more people, more PhD and master's degree students into our industry. Do you see that as a possibility? I mean, AI is I hate to say a young person's game, but seems to be generating more energy within the younger generation.
Well, I definitely see that. Well, first of all, and you know that better than I, is this space IoT is hard because everything comes together at IoT, which makes it incredibly complex. And then after working hard, you still need to turn that into money. So that's part of the problem. Now, what I see in what you're seeing in AI right now is just AI, the newer AI models that are coming out, they are, let me put it diplomatically, helping software developers. Uh, Google says, well, every time it's more, that 60, 70% of the software that they are developing is actually driven by AI engines. Now, the same thing, I expect the same thing will happen on the hardware side. So if the AI models can drive the hardware, that makes then, as a developer, you can focus on the development. You don't have to. You have less of a headache with the hardware, with the details, etc. If that trend happens, if that plays out, then definitely I see a lot of people, and there will be some education around this um, coming back into the industry, because at the end of the day, yes, you can build a great AI model, but it has to do something. So it needs to interact with an IoT device, and that's where the game lands.
But it's interesting that the information around data, we've been analyzing data in the IoT and machine to machine space, whether it's been OT or IT, for decades. But it's amazing now that AI is the buzzword. The data is still being looked at and analyzed. It's just in a faster, more efficient, higher productivity model than it was before.
Okay, with AI, you can look at anomalies. You don't look at the data stream anymore.
That's
You look
right.
at the anomalies. That helps.
Yep.
Back to
Yes.
you, Tiffany.
And
Yep.
we have a great session coming up later today from Dr. Scott Gerard, where he's going to be talking about exactly that and why AIoT, you need both learning and reasoning. So I encourage everyone to stay for that session because it's going to be a very good one. Now back to the money. So with the global demand for IoT solutions continuing to rise, the Business Research Company has projected the market to reach 629.5 billion with a 17.5% annual growth rate. And these projections look promising, but my question is, Steve, where is the money actually being made today in IoT?
Uh, can I do a rinse and repeat from the information I've provided in the past? I still think it's vertically market focused. I mean, when you start to look at where the vast amount of opportunities there are, they're going to be in those specific vertical markets that you're attacking. Today, and I had the opportunity this week at Mobile World Congress to sit down and meet with several of the larger hardware manufacturers, gateway manufacturers, routers, and module makers to ask them about what the state was, as I did a little prepping for this, was around still the tracking, AVL, GPS tracking, POS terminals, looking at the utility market, looking at auto and aftermarket auto products. You're still looking at a variety of different verticals that are still expanding and growing in areas like construction. So I do think that we're seeing a lot of growth within vertical markets for you to concentrate on. You're going to get more focused hardware, software, platforms, connectivity options. So I think verticals are there. I'm seeing fixed wireless FWA as a part of IoT growing substantially more than we already seen it with 5G and the new Wi-Fi, 678 being deployed with those FWA gateways as a particular part. And I do think that if you look at SI and the SI capabilities of being able to put the end-to-end solution and handle your customer's problem, that is ultimately where all that money then gets put together in a pot for you to be able to show the profit. So I think those are where I'm seeing the money today.
Thank you very much, Steve. And anything to add on where the money is being made in IoT, Johannes?
Well, so analyzing the IoT market as a whole, holistically, so uh, the money in IoT is concentrated in three areas. First, industrial IoT, and that is literally where the biggest checks are being written. Predictive maintenance alone is a multi-billion-dollar market. Companies like Siemens, with their Sensei platform, are helping manufacturers avoid unplanned downtime, which can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour. And yes, those numbers are real, and I know them from running a semiconductor fab. It's very, very expensive, and I imagine more fabs, more automated fabs, are in the same category. So that's really where you can save a lot of money. Now, when you can predict a failure before it happens and schedule maintenance during planned downtime, that's real money for you. Second, smart buildings and energy management. This market is taking off because ROI is obvious. You're cutting or operating costs while hitting sustainability targets. Honeywell, Cisco, Johnson Controls, they are all deploying AI-powered building systems that optimize HVAC, lighting, and energy use in real time. And here's the thing, with energy prices all over the map, new regulations kicking in, EU stricter building performance directives, California's mandates, requirements in New York City and DC, CFOs are under pressure to act. So these projects are getting approved fast. And then third, always connectivity and infrastructure, the picks and shovels play. Companies providing the underlying connectivity, edge computing hardware, and orchestration software are printing money. Think about it. Every IoT deployment needs reliable connectivity, edge processing, and management tools. That's recurring revenue at scale. And here's the pattern. The money isn't in cheap sensors anymore. It's in the software, the analytics, the managed services, and the platforms that turn raw IoT data into actionable business outcomes. That's what the margins are, and that's where the growth is happening right now.
And Tiffany, I'm just going to add one thing to what Johannes said. I agree with him wholeheartedly that the big bucks and a majority of the money that you mentioned in that statistic is definitely coming from the industrial side. But I'm a people person. So I'm concerned about the SMB markets and the lower end of the enterprise side and how you work in those spaces within the IoT growth that's there. The average SI doesn't have a chance to be doing high-end industrial projects. And so, I think that's right. I think Johannes is right about where the ultimate money is. I'm more focused in on the money on the street. How do we solve people's problems on a smaller scale?
Thanks, Steve. I think that the more that we involve AI, the more we're going to see AI's trend of these tangled webs of investment where it's, I'm investing to this company, but they're also my client kind of situations come about. And it kind of makes me question the whole AI bubble and those kind of things. But we'll stick to IoT since this is the state of IoT. And so as we wrap things up, we want to remind you to stick around for the entire Summit of Things because we have an incredible 3 days planned for you. You can attend online. You can even watch the content on demand if these times don't work for you. So be sure, if you haven't already, to register to attend all 3 days by visiting iotmktg.com. And if you happen to be watching the opening panel from one of our live streams, again, visit our website so that you can enjoy the entire Summit of Things because we have a full agenda where we'll talk about IoT, AI, cybersecurity, data privacy, technology's impact on society, Gen AI for video, how to be successful in the future of search, and so much more. Anything else you'd like to add, Johannes?
Yes, and there's always one more thing, Tiffany. And in this case, as IoT continues to mature and blend with AI, the real challenge isn't just showcasing innovation, it's connecting it. And that's what inspired us to build TechScope Connect, a new interactive hub for the tech ecosystem on the foundation that we've created with Industry Insights webinars and IoT marketing. We're soft launching TechScope Connect this week with the release of a member exclusive resource, the Vibe Hacking Survival Guide. More resources, survival guides, white papers, videos are and will be made available in the Tech Hub. The full launch will take place at CES in January, and we're opening 2 early tier access, our Founder Circle, and our founding members program for members who want to and parts who want to help us with the TechScope Connect before the official debut in January.
It's very exciting. So TechScope Connect coming soon, and you can get early access. We're going to have a link available. So please get on the list, and we'd love to have you be a part of our growing community. And I know we're cutting close on time. You may have questions in the chat. We'll try to get to those. If we didn't get to your questions, then please check the chat. We'll be responding to those in there. And thank you, Johannes and Steve. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you today. And of course, thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.